Hey there. Just gotta do some reading. And Yeshua passed by, he saw a man which was blind since birth. And when his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did the sin, this man, or his parents, that he was born blind? Yeshua answered and said, Neither has this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him that sent me, which is while it is day. The night comes when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had spoke that, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spit, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. And he said to him, Go, wash in the pool of Siloam. He went on his way, therefore, and he washed, and he came out, and he was seeing. The neighbors that had before seen him, that this man was blind, said, Isn't this the man that sat and begged, the blind man? Some said, This is he. Others said, He looks like him. But is it? And then the man said that he was that blind man. And the people asked him, How were your eyes opened? And he answered and said, A man that is called Yeshua made clay, and he anointed my eyes. And he said to me, Go to the pool of Siloam and wash. I went and I washed, and I received sight. Then they said to him, Where is he? And the man didn't know. They brought him to the Pharisees. And it was the Sabbath day when Yeshua had made the clay and opened the eyes of the man. Then the Pharisees also asked the man how he received his sight. And the man said again, He put clay on my eyes, I washed, and then I saw. And then the Pharisees, they said, This man is not of God, because he doesn't keep the Sabbath day. Others said, How can a man that is a sinner do such miracles? And there was a division among the Pharisees. Then they said to the blind man again, What do you say of him? Has he opened your eyes? And the man said, He is a prophet. But the Jews did not believe concerning Yeshua, and they didn't believe concerning the man that had been blind and made his sight restored. So they called the man's parents. And they asked the parents, and they said, Is this your son that was born blind? How does he now see? His parents answered them, and they said, We know that this is our son, and that he was born blind. But by how he could come to get his sight back, we don't know. Or who is that opened his eyes, we don't know. He's of an age where you can ask him. Why don't you ask him yourselves? And the parents were wise in this manner, because they said that because they were in fear of the Jewish leaders. Because the Jewish leaders had already agreed that if any man did confess that Yeshua was the Messiah, that they would be put out of the synagogue. And if you were put out of the synagogue, well, there goes your livelihood, your job, your connections, your community, all the people that you know, family and friends. So being put out of the synagogue was not a good thing, and the parents weren't looking to that. So they were wise, and they said, well, ask our son, the blind guy, who used to be blind, who was born blind and came from, our union of man and woman. So they said to them, our son is of age, ask him. So again, the Pharisees called the man that was blind, and they said to him, Give God the praise. We know that the man who healed you was a sinner. But the blind man who now has his sight answered, and he said, I do not know whether that man was a sinner or not, but I know one thing. I know that I was blind, and now I see. Then they said to him, What did he do to thee? How did he open your eyes and make him see? And the man is getting frustrated now. He says, I told you already, and you didn't hear. Are you going to hear it again if I tell you again? And then he says, if I tell you again the same thing, are you going to follow him and be the Messiah's disciples. And they said, "We know that God spoke to Moses. As for this fellow, we don't know where he is." And the blind man who now saw answered them again and said, "Why, herein is a marvelous thing, that ye know not whence he is, and yet he has opened my eyes. Now we know that God doesn't hear sinners, but if a man be a worshiper of God and does the will of God, then God will hear him. Since the world began, was it not heard that any man opened the eyes of one that was born blind? If this man was not of God, he could do nothing." They answered him and said to him, "You are born in sins, and you here, you're a sinner, and you're teaching us?" And they got rid of him. They didn't want to hear that because they thought they were better. They thought they were without sin. So they're just pointing their finger at this blind guy who now sees, and they're just calling him a sinner and writing him off and scoffing at him. So Yeshua heard that they had cast him out. And when he had found him, he said to him, "Do you believe on the Son of God?" And the blind man who now saw said, "Who is he, Lord, that I might believe on him?" And Yeshua said to him, "Thou hast seen him, and it is also he that talketh with you now." And the blind man who now saw looked up to Yeshua, and he said, "Lord, I believe," and he worshipped him. And Yeshua said, "For judgment I have come into this world, that they which see not might see, and that they which see might be made blind." So, those are people who can see. Yeshua is calling them blind. And those who can't see, Yeshua is going to help them to see. Beware the Pharisees in the world. Yeshua said that they were going to go to hell. He said that they make more converts to people who go to hell than convert them so that they can be saved. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Have you been blessed that way? Have you been blessed? Are you blessed each day by the sun and the rain that Yahweh gives to us? For the very breath that he gives us? For the spirit that is inside us? Our soul? Our families? The children he's given us? Our good times and our bad times? Have you been blessed? Have you thanked him today? Have you said, "Yahweh, I am so glad that you've given me this life on this earth for this time in 2009. Thank him today. Get to know him. Talk to him. Get to know him. And if you don't know how to find him, ask him how you find him. Okay? Seek him with your whole heart.